Hey, good Sunday evening or middle of the night, Monday morning. I don't know, depending on your time zone. I'm Brian Falchuk back for the last of these live Instagram challenges I've been doing for my friend Adam Shively as part of his podcastermind movement. Uh, I was going to talk about something brand new today, but something I talked about a few days ago that I've talked about subsequently was this idea of not drinking that was inspired by listening to Andy Ramage of 1 Year No Beer that I heard on the Rich Roll podcast. Absolutely awesome, awesome episode. I will link to it in Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, but I can't do that on Instagram. So you're just going to have to go to richroll.com, click on podcast, and check it out. Right now, it's the latest episode. Absolutely worth a listen. But the challenge I put out was whether people are sort of unconsciously drinking. Not saying you have a drinking problem or not, but like you just do it because you do it. I was at a conference or convention when I made the post. I think it was Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night. And it was like all anyone could talk about was where they're going to drink and where they're going to after that to get other drinks. And that's just kind of the focus of everybody's time. And honestly, it made me sad. It made me sad to see how much alcohol had consumed everybody's thoughts. And I don't drink. I haven't had alcohol in a little over 6 years. And it's not that I had a terrible drinking problem before that, but I was sort of unconsciously drinking when I drank, not to the point of being unconscious, but like it wasn't a conscious, purposeful decision. And every time I did it, I would see the impact on my body. And so I just said, well, what's the point? I'm going to stop doing that. And haven't looked back. Definitely better for me. I have enough I ask of my body, and processing alcohol is just one more thing. But so what I want to actually talk about is when I have been doing these lives a few days before that, I get, 10 to 20 people on at a time, which is awesome. I get 2 people on right now. And then I did the one on alcohol, and it was like every time I talked about not drinking, I'd see like the one person who joined in would drop out. And then one person would join in and drop out. And it was like, maybe this is just too uncomfortable for people. And as I always do, I said, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, how this resonates with you. Have you thought about whether drinking is helping or hurting you, or whether you're making those choices to drink consciously or not? And I got no comments on Instagram, no comments on Facebook. But interestingly, on LinkedIn, I did get a couple. And then the even more interesting thing that sparked me to want to post this video is the number of people who reached out not publicly. So I got a bunch of people who reached out through messaging on LinkedIn, who sent me direct messages there, sent me connection requests, and said something about the post and how much it resonated with them and how important it was and how great it was, and spot on. And looking at what those people do, because it's LinkedIn, I could see their professional situation. There were people who were all in sort of alcohol focused spaces. So an insurance broker, people in sales, they like people in industries where going out for drinks is a normal thing. That would be a pretty typical action. And a lot of people at this convention I was at, it was an insurance convention, there were insurance brokers, like, yeah, very alcohol focused world. But it was so interesting to me that it's almost crickets in the post, but privately a lot of people reached out, and I mean a lot of people. So that said something to me. It's like, okay, this message is resonating, but maybe people are still a little afraid to get out there and say anything that others might see about this. And it's interesting. So maybe it's because they don't want to be perceived as having a drinking problem. Okay, I get that. It doesn't mean they do have one, but maybe they don't want to be seen that way, especially on something like LinkedIn that it's their professional network. Totally understand. Maybe it's because they're not so sure where they fall on the spectrum. Maybe it's because they're not so sure where they'll be able to fall on the spectrum and they're scared of putting that out publicly. I get that too. But what it did tell me is that people actually are thinking about it and are willing to maybe have that conscious decision around their alcohol choices. Uh, and so, it's definitely something I'm going to reach out to Andy Ramage about, because I think he'll be interested in hearing that. But this then ties into the next live that I did, which was responding to some comments on LinkedIn that I saw that I thought were just brilliant about being authentic and not holding back who you are, saying what you need to say. And if other people don't like it, well, the 2 cents I threw in was maybe those aren't people you should have in your circle. Like, you shouldn't be working hard to have someone like you if the way for them to like you is for you to be other than who you are. If you have to hide your true self, you have to hide your thoughts. And you can do that in a really kind way. You don't have to be a jerk by telling them, you disagree with them or you don't like what they're standing for. But you still need to be you. So I sort of pieced these different talks together. Thank you for that comment. Someone just said agreed. Every day is a new day show. I love that. That's right on the theme of do a day. Awesome. So yeah, it's like, are you being authentic? Are you hiding who you are? Why? So I guess I'm being super provocative. I think, maybe we need to look at our drinking habits as a society. And then for those who are like, yeah, I need to look at that, or yeah, I want to do that. Then you look at whether they were willing to say it publicly or not. They had the feeling. They reached out to me because they knew I was a safe space, but they wouldn't put that out publicly. A couple people did, but most didn't. A huge number didn't. So I applaud them for reaching out. I love that they're thinking about it. I hope they get to a place where they're willing to be more open about it and realize it's really not a thing. Like, I don't talk about drinking or not drinking in social settings. I just don't do it. That's my choice for me. I don't walk around preaching at people. Same thing with being vegan. I don't walk around shaming people because they have dairy or meat on their plate. That's their choice. I've made a decision for me, for my best, and I'm happy to pursue that peacefully. But I would love to see people who are having these thoughts recognize that it's okay to be authentic, to be real, to be in touch with how you actually feel about it. So shout out to Andy Ramage and Rich Roll. Always got to give a shout out to Rich Roll. But to Andy for starting this whole ball rolling. I'm excited to connect with him. I think we're going to do a little podcast love. So look for him on a future episode of the Do A Day podcast. But also Tony Bubb, who was another amazing person. You should follow Tony on LinkedIn if you don't. She posts great videos, great content about being more genuine, authentic, in touch with yourselves, and so many other things that I've always just found super inspiring. But she's the one who tied that authenticity point together. It was actually off someone else's post, but Tony's comment just brought it all home for me around positivity and honesty and living in that authenticity. So the challenge to all you, the drinking challenge, of course, look at your behaviors there, but also look at where maybe you recognize something you want to change about yourself that maybe is not the socially acceptable or socially normal path. And, whether it's going vegan, not drinking, or something else, how can you be more open about that and not be so scared or worried about how people might perceive you for it? So that is the comment, the thought I will leave you all with. If this is resonating, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave me some comments. Gotten some hearts and waves and thumbs up during the Instagram live, which is always nice to see. But if you have more to say, I'd love to hear from you. So head over to brianfalchuk.com. You can always hit me up there or catch the podcast at doadaybook.com. Just click on podcast. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great night or morning or whatever it is for you. And I hope to connect with you all soon, whether you still drink or don't drink or eat meat or don't eat meat or whatever is right for you. As long as it's you, that's all that matters. Take care.